On a warm summer morning in the year 79 AD, the Roman city of Pompeii was alive, full of laughter, trade, and dreams. The smell of freshly baked bread drifted from the bakeries. The chatter of merchants filled the air as they sold olive oil, wine, and cloth. Children ran through the cobblestone streets, chasing each other beneath the Roman sun. In the distance, Mount Vesuvius stood quietly, tall, green, and majestic. To the people of Pompeii, it was not a volcano, but a guardian, a mountain of peace. No one knew that this beautiful day would be the last sunrise they ever see. Pompeii was a prosperous Roman city near the Bay of Naples, with around 11,000 residents. It was not a sleepy village, but a vibrant center of Roman luxury. The wealthy elite built enormous villas decorated with marble, mosaics, and colorful frescoes. The middle class ran taverns, bakeries, and workshops. Even the poor enjoyed the benefits of Roman engineering. Aqueducts brought fresh water, and bathhouses provided a place to relax after a day's work. The Forum stood at the heart of the city, a wide plaza surrounded by temples, shops, and government buildings. Here, men discussed politics, women bartered for jewelry, and travelers shared news from across the empire. Pompeii had amphitheaters for entertainment, temples for worship, and gardens bursting with grapes and pomegranates. Roman society was highly organized. Wealthy families owned slaves who cooked, cleaned, and managed the estates. Public baths were a daily ritual for all classes, a place to bathe, gossip, and even conduct business. Archaeologists later found graffiti on the bathhouse walls, witty jokes, love confessions, and political slogans. Through them, we can still hear the voices of Pompeii's people, ordinary citizens, frozen in time. For centuries, Mount Vesuvius slept. The mountain slopes were covered in vineyards that produced some of Italy's finest wine. The Romans had no word for volcano. They simply did not understand what Vesuvius really was. But beneath the surface, the earth was restless. 17 years earlier, in 62 AD, a violent earthquake shook the region. Many buildings collapsed and cracks split the streets. Some people fled, believing the gods were angry. But most stayed. They rebuilt their homes, repaired their temples, and carried on with life. Over time, the tremors returned, small, brief, and easily ignored. The people of Pompeii had learned to live with the trembling ground, unaware that the mountain was preparing for something far greater. The morning of August 24, 79 AD, began peacefully. The sun rose over the Bay of Naples, casting golden light across the rooftops. Fishermen sailed out for their morning catch. Bakers prepared loaves for the day's customers. Farmers led their donkeys into the fields.
By noon, everything changed. A low rumble echoed through the valley, deep, powerful, like the growl of the earth itself. Then came the explosion. From the top of Mount Vesuvius, a massive column of smoke burst into the sky. Within minutes, it grew taller than any mountain, twisting upward like a pillar of fire and ash. Ancient writer Pliny the Younger, who watched from across the bay, described it as a cloud in the shape of a pine tree, spreading its branches high above the sea. The people of Pompeii stared in disbelief. Many had no idea what was happening. Some thought the gods were punishing them. Others believed it was just another earthquake. But soon small stones, called pumice, began to rain down. At first people laughed, collecting the strange lightweight rocks. But the laughter faded quickly as the rain thickened. Roofs began to creak, streets filled with debris. The air grew dark, heavy, and suffocating. Ash covered everything. homes, gardens, temples, and the harbor. The bright Roman afternoon turned to twilight, then to darkness. For the next several hours, Pompeii was buried under a relentless storm. Roofs collapsed under the weight of falling stones. People ran through the streets, covering their mouths with cloth to breathe. Others tied pillows to their heads for protection. Others sought shelter in the basements of their homes, praying for safety. Pliny the Younger later wrote that darkness fell, darker and thicker than any night. In that darkness, the only light came from lightning flashing inside the ash cloud, a terrifying storm of fire and thunder that seemed to consume the sky itself. As night fell, the ground shook violently again. Panic spread. Families clung to one another. Some tried to flee through the city gates toward the open countryside, but the roads were already buried. Others headed for the harbor, hoping to find a ship. But the sea had retreated, drawn back by the pressure of the eruption, leaving boats stranded in the mud. In the nearby town of Herculaneum, people gathered at the shore, staring at the black cloud racing toward them. They screamed as it descended, a wall of burning gas and ash moving faster than any human could run. Back in Pompeii, by dawn, most of the city was already covered in several meters of pumice. Many who survived the first night believed the worst was over. They emerged from their homes to search for loved ones or dig through the ash, but Vesuvius was not finished. Around 7 in the morning, the volcano unleashed its deadliest weapon, the pyroclastic surge. A wave of superheated gas and ash shot down the mountain at more than 100 kilometers per hour. The temperature exceeded 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to kill in an instant. The surge reached Pompeii within seconds. People caught in the open were instantly overwhelmed. Those who hid indoors suffocated as the gas filled their homes. Bodies were buried where they fell, frozen in their final moments. Some were found holding hands. Others clutched small treasures, hoping to escape with their most precious belongings. And then, silence. When the eruption ended the next day, Mount Vesuvius stood calm again, its peak blown apart. The Bay of Naples was buried under ash. Pompeii was gone, erased from the map, sealed under more than 20 feet of volcanic rock. For centuries, the city lay forgotten. Grass and vines grew over the buried ruins. Locals spoke of an ancient city beneath the ground, but no one knew its name. Over time, it became legend. 1,700 years later, in 1748, workers digging near Naples discovered walls and statues buried deep underground. At first, they thought it was just another Roman villa. But as they dug further, streets appeared, intact, with houses, frescoes, and even bread loaves still in ovens. They had found Pompeii. What they uncovered stunned the world. The city had been frozen in time, perfectly preserved by the ash that destroyed it. Archaeologists found bodies of men, women, and children in lifelike poses, some shielding their faces, others holding each other in their final embrace. Plaster casts made from these voids revealed every detail: fingers, hair, even the folds of clothing. Inside the houses, frescoes glowed with color. Murals depicted gods, lovers, and myths. Graffiti on the walls carried messages from ordinary people, political slogans, love notes, jokes, and insults. It was as if life had paused mid-sentence, waiting to be rediscovered. Pompeii offered a window into the ancient world more vivid than any book or legend. Archaeologists learned how Romans cooked, what they ate, and how they decorated their homes. They found shops, temples, theaters, and even a full amphitheater capable of seating 20,000 spectators. In one corner, they discovered a gladiator's training school, complete with armor, weapons, and the bones of men who never had the chance to fight again. Even the smallest details survived: a loaf of bread stamped with its baker's seal, jars of olive oil still sealed with wax, and a dog's paw prints in the volcanic dust. Through these discoveries, Pompeii spoke again. It told the story not only of tragedy, but of life, vibrant, passionate, and human. Yet the story also carried a warning. Mount Vesuvius still stands today, silent but alive. More than 3 million people now live near its shadow, including the city of Naples. Scientists monitor it closely, studying its patterns, measuring gas emissions, and listening for tremors beneath the earth. History has taught them what the Romans never knew, that Vesuvius will erupt again. The question is not if, but when. Modern technology allows researchers to see deeper into the volcano than ever before. They've mapped its magma chambers and reconstructed the eruption's timeline second by second. Some even believe that similar eruptions could happen in our lifetime, with devastating consequences. Pompeii remains a symbol of how fragile civilization can be, a reminder that beneath our modern comfort, the Earth is still capable of unimaginable power. Today, millions of visitors walk the ancient streets of Pompeii. They pass the remains of houses, baths, and temples. They see the plaster figures, faces frozen in pain, hands reaching out. And as they walk, they feel something deeper than curiosity. They feel connection, because Pompeii's story is not just about a city lost to a volcano. It's about all of us, our hopes, our achievements, and the suddenness with which everything can disappear. Pompeii was not simply destroyed. It was preserved, a message across time, reminding us of our shared fragility. Every wall, every mosaic, every cast body whispers the same truth. Life is beautiful, but fleeting. This was the story of Pompeii, the forgotten city that vanished overnight, a city that reminds us how quickly history can change, and how, through memory, it never truly dies.